What's up, all you serious people? PSP here. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Julia.
And it's time to get serious. Today, we're reacting to one of our patrons' choices.
Woo! David C, yo!
David C. Got to choose what we react to for being a patron of June, and we're super excited to see what you sent us. It's called The President Who Randomly Liked to Challenge People to Fistfights. So that sounds awesome.
Sounds educational.
Thanks for sending, David.
You know, one of our favourite historic individuals is Theodore Roosevelt. Among countless other reasons to be admired, he's a man who enjoys a reputation as one of the most terrifyingly badass individuals to ever hold the office of leader of a nation, with countless stories detailing his cartoonishly manly exploits. For just a small sample to start, at one point, while he was living as a rancher, some thieves stole his boat in the middle of an ice storm. Given the rather dangerous weather conditions, you might think he'd just let them go, but no! This was Teddy, and it was the principle of the thing. Using his prodigious skills as a master tracker, he managed to find and capture the men. However, ultimately the river became too frozen over to continue to the nearest town that way, so instead he sent his ranch hand companions home and marched the thieves on foot, alone, for 40 hours straight to town. During the trek, he did not bind the thieves in any way, as he felt sure they'd suffer from frostbite if he did so. To keep them from overpowering him while they trudged along through the frozen wasteland, he simply kept a gun trained on them, and while they slept during rest periods, he kept himself awake by reading Tolstoy's then relatively recently published Anna Karenina. It's also noteworthy here that because of the weather conditions, the fact he was in hostile territory in the middle of nowhere and escorting a trio of criminals who would have killed him without hesitation if he'd given them a chance, he was within his rights to simply execute them on the spot and go home, something the vast majority of lawmen of his era would have done. Roosevelt, however, felt they deserved a trial. Impressed with how honourable a man Roosevelt was, one of the criminals even wrote to him later from prison, thanking him for being a peerless sentinel of justice. Another of the thieves, Roosevelt didn't even bother to press charges against, stating the man didn't have enough sense to do anything good or bad. And it was started on that time, on October the 14th, 1912, when Roosevelt was shot in the chest at point-blank range, shrugged it off, and then proceeded to give a 90-minute speech.
My God!
The speech by noting, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know whether you fully understand that I am just shot, but it takes more than that to kill a bull moose." After the speech, he went to the hospital, where it was found that the bullet hadn't penetrated his lung, as it had become lodged in his ample chest muscle. When asked later why he hadn't rushed to the hospital after being shot, he simply stated, "In the event of the wound being mortal, I wished to die with my boots on." In yet another instance, hinting at his moral badassery, unlike many of his era, Roosevelt was a strong supporter of black American rights, including being the first president to invite a black man, Booker T. Washington, to have dinner at the White House on October the 16th, 1901. While this seems like a little thing today, at the time it was anything but. News of the controversial dinner travelled along the Associated Press wires throughout the night. The morning newspapers, in many cases, took the opportunity to attack both Roosevelt and Washington with fervour. For instance, the next afternoon, the Memphis Scimitar reported, "The most damnable outrage which has ever been perpetrated by a citizen of the United States was committed by the president when he invited a N-word to dine with him at the White House. It would not be worth more than a passing notice if Theodore Roosevelt had sat down to dinner on his own time with a Pullman cart porter, but Roosevelt the individual and Roosevelt the president are not to be viewed in the same light." Oh my. A US Senator from South Carolina, Ben Tillman, even publicly proposed a retaliatory measure. The action of President Roosevelt in inviting that N-word will necessitate our killing 1,000 N-words in the South before they will reach their place again. Wow, this didn't age well, did it, guys? Soon after the dinner, Roosevelt received an honorary doctorate from Yale University, along with famed novelist Mark Twain. Booker T. Washington was also present at this event. Roosevelt spoke to Twain and asked the novelist for his opinion on the controversial matter. Twain replied that a president was perhaps not as free as an ordinary citizen to entertain whoever he likes. Roosevelt disagreed, and a few days later, he had had enough and made a public statement about the infamous dinner. True to his no-nonsense style, he simply said, "I shall have him to dine as often as I please." As for his general opinion of black people, Roosevelt would sum up his thoughts as this: "The only wise and honorable and Christian thing to do is to treat each black man and each white man strictly on his merits as a man, giving him no more and no less than he shows himself worthy to have."
Wow.
Yeah.
And there is your opposite example of something that has aged incredibly well. Moving on from there to his
like a
mental
MLK
badassery.
statement.
How about that time on one of his many famous adventures, this one, the River of Doubt expedition, he almost died when two of his crewmen's boats were about to crash into rocks, potentially with dire consequences. Disregarding his personal safety completely in favor of attempting to protect his men, Roosevelt jumped out of his own boat into the swift river, grabbed the two boats, and via his own strength, he stopped them from hitting the rocks.
Oh my
In a
God.
discussion of his own personal safety in another instance, he would note his thoughts on protecting those under him, stating, "It was just as when I was a colonel of my regiment. I always felt that a private was to be excused for feeling at times some pangs of anxiety about his personal safety, but I cannot understand a man fit to be a colonel who can pay any heed to his personal safety when he is occupied, as he ought to be, with his duty." Oh, and yes, just in case you didn't pick up there, along with all of the rest he did, he was also a colonel in the US military.
I've done nothing
This
with
is
my
when
life.
he
I know, right?
Rough Riders. More on that in the bonus facts. So, this all
Bonus
brings
facts.
us around to his randomly challenging people to fistfights. As mentioned, born a sickly child who was plagued by a host of physical ailments throughout his formative years, Roosevelt's life was changed forever at the age of 14, when, on a trip to Moosehead Lake, a group of older boys beat him up. Frustrated at his inability to protect himself, Roosevelt decided to bolster his physical capabilities by taking up boxing, setting the future president on a path that would culminate in him suplexing heads of state in the Oval Office. From that point on, Roosevelt basically spent every
What?
waking moment honing his body into
Looks
a hard
photoshopped.
granite,
No, it's real.
continually finding ways to improve himself physically and taking every opportunity he could to punch people for glory and fun. Roosevelt
God.
also studied jiu-jitsu and
Wow.
judo.
Is the
Legendary
he?
martial artist and judo
How do you
pioneer
fucking Roosevelt?
Yamashita Yoshiaki. Although Roosevelt initially
lived
studied
like
and
5
practiced
lives.
judo to help him shift a few pounds after
did live a
he
long life
noticed
back
his
then.
midriff had become a little ungainly during his time in office, he so greatly enjoyed the thrill of combat that he continued to study it, eventually rising to the level of brown belt. On the side, we
Pretty
just
good.
think it's also fun to mention his propensity to go skinny dipping in the Potomac River in the dead of winter. As to why he did this, he simply wanted to make sure his body and mind stayed hardened against even the most extreme of elements.
My God.
Okay, but let's rewind a little bit to his time as governor of New York. Roosevelt there had a wrestling mat installed in his office so he could fight people on the spot.
What?
Annoyed the hell out of those in charge of his safety, who frequently tried to nudge Roosevelt towards gentlemanly pursuits more befitting a man of his station, like billiards. He was having approximately none of that. He continued to challenge anyone who seemed like they might be able to beat him to a fight, even at one point challenging a then current and the other former boxing and wrestling champion in the US to see how he measured up. As Vice President and later President, Roosevelt continued with this practice, lining the White House's basement with wrestling mats so he could suplex people whenever he felt like it. On top of that,
my
he would
goodness.
frequently test judo moves against his apparently understanding wife, random
What?
members of White House staff, and any visiting heads of state curious about whether stories of his physical prowess were in any way exaggerated. Roosevelt also continued his former practice of tasking aides with tracking down prize fighters and boxing champions who they could convince to fight him, all again with the man determined to never go soft. And lest you walk away thinking Roosevelt only won so many of these bouts because nobody would seriously consider hurting the president in these fights. But the truth of the matter is that Teddy took them very seriously and didn't just expect, but demanded his opponents to do the same. He gave them his best and he required that they reciprocate.
He's
Thus,
crazy.
he was on more than one occasion severely
Badass.
injured, with the worst being when Roosevelt suffered a punch to the left eye, delivered a half-dozen rounds into a boxing match against an army artillery officer. The result of that punch was his retina detaching, leaving him blind in that eye. Rather than fret about it, Roosevelt simply joked it was a good thing it was his left eye he went blind in, as he used his right to aim when he was shooting. Nevertheless, the injury effectively ended Roosevelt's pugilistic endeavors in the White House for fear he might lose the other eye. Instead, he switched to increasing his judo and wrestling matches for anyone who still wanted to try their luck in a fight with the bull moose. And one thing you guys should certainly try is today's sponsor, Audible. Now, you guys have probably heard of Audible. You're on the internet.
Right.
You're
Wow. I didn't know most of that.
I didn't know most. I knew that about the one where he got shot and continued his speech.
I didn't know that one.
You didn't know that one?
No.
Oh yeah, that's like a famous one. That kind of like he got shot and he's kind of like, okay, like I just started my speech. I'm gonna go on for another 90-minute speech.
That's insane.
You know,
I just knew about his like outdoorsiness and like his hunting and like all that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we named a teddy bear after him.
Really?
Yeah.
After Teddy Roosevelt?
I'm pretty sure we did. I mean, he's kind of a big guy. It's kind of like, okay, like a little teddy bear, you know? I mean, he also kind of like wildness.
And they called him a moose, not a bear.
Well, maybe I don't know.
Well, that was super cool. Thank you for sending that, David. I enjoyed learning about Teddy.
Yeah.
That was super funny.
You know?
Like, how cool would that be to be able to say, like, yeah, I fought Teddy Roosevelt in a boxing match.
I just love how he's kind of like, you know, like I'm the governor of New York, you know? Like, you want to discuss this? Get in the ring. Yeah. Let's figure this out old man style. Let's do it, you know?
Why can't we still do that
And
today?
then he would just like flip over his wife, go like, hello wife, bam! Good morning.
She's probably so used to it. She's probably just like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, my morning tackle, you know? I love you, Teddy.
Oh my God.
Tackle me like a bear.
I wonder how he like was in person. Was like, it sounds like he had a huge sense of humor, but it also sounds like he was just super serious. So he was really serious about all this stuff.
Yeah, he was very serious. And also it just sounds like he had like a very good sense of moral direction.
Yeah.
With like, in, like the first story, kind of like the people stole his boat, but he had every right to shoot them, you know, and the other guy was just kind of like, whatever, you're just whatever, dude, I'm not even trial you.
Yeah.
You know, and
he was inviting black people to
in 1901.
Yeah.
In 19, and I like what he said too, because people kind of like, oh, that's so like, that's insane. He's
I will
like,
have him over for dinner.
Yeah, screw you guys. I can have, this is my house in a way, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get used to it. Yeah.
Like, that was great.
That's awesome.
You know?
I feel like it's somewhat relevant as well right now.
Yeah.
With everything going on and, like, Black Lives Matter and all of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is the example we should be following.
This is pretty much what he said. Kind of like, you know, like, they matter. I'm gonna let them come to my house. Like, screw all you guys, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're wrong. I mean, like, I like how this guy says, too, kind of like, you see, like, how this didn't age well in history, and then, like, Teddy said did age well.
Yeah.
Like, you always remember kind of which side of history you're on.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't want to be on the wrong side of history.
No, you don't.
So,
no, you do not.
Like,
especially in a position of power like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that really just sets the tone for the whole, like, nation, in a way. So.
And you're gonna be in history, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you again, David, and let us know what you guys thought of that video in the comments down below.
Did you know all these things about Teddy Roosevelt that we didn't? I mean,
yeah, let us know.
I knew one thing with this, like, the
there's so much new stuff in there.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love learning.
I love learning.
And thank you to our other patrons over on patreon.com for supporting the channel. Thank you, Bradley.
David C, who requested this video. Love you, man.
David S.
Dennis.
Esteban.
Jane.
Kevin.
Vicky.
And Warren P.
Woo!
Thank you. We love you guys. And if you'd like to become a patron and show your support to the channel, head over to patreon.com/perfectlyserious. And the tier start at just $1 a month. You can become a patron and receive shout outs in every reaction video. Plus you get the early release, the exclusive. You get to be the first to see every reaction video we do, the first to leave a comment, and the rewards go up from there. Check them out. I'll leave a link in the description down below as well. And if you cannot support financially, we understand that. What you can do for us, if you still would like to show your support and you enjoy the channel and want to see us keep going, is to subscribe. We are very close to our goal of 10,000 subscribers.
Oh my God.
And when that happens, we get to partner with YouTube. So that is our next huge goal, and you guys are helping us get there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you guys.
We'll see you guys next time.
Stay
Bye.
serious.